Good morning and welcome to our daily devotional from Pilgrim Congregational Church. Oh, and I just pushed the wrong button on my Facebook. I turned it off instead of turning it on. Let's see, we'll try this again. Okay, let's see. Okay, welcome to Daily Devotional on Pilgrim Congregational Church, Facebook page and YouTube and on Zoom. Very glad to have you join us this morning. We've been studying Genesis chapter 17 this morning, and I'm going to read a few of the verses from our passage. We've been looking at 1 through 7 and 15 and 16, and I'm going to read verse 7 and then verses 15 and 16, and then offer a few reflections and close us with prayer. So this is Genesis 17, verse 7, and then verses 15 and 16. I will establish my covenant between me and you and your offspring and after you throughout their generations for an everlasting covenant to be God to you and to your offspring after you. And then in 15 and 16, God said to Abraham, as for Sarai, your wife, you shall not call her Sarai, but Sarah shall be her name. I will bless her, and moreover, I will give you a son by her. I will bless her, and she shall give rise to nations. Kings of peoples shall come from her. A couple of thoughts. I wanted to read verse 7 because we had a discussion yesterday about the difference between the old covenant and the new covenant, which is those are terms that are used perhaps by Christians most frequently associated with the old covenant being associated with the Old Testament and the new covenant being associated with the Gospels and the New Testament. But actually the phrase new covenant is something that can be found frequently in the Old Testament. And I think that it's probably much more helpful to us as Christians to understand what is meant by old and new covenants in the Old Testament in order to understand what it might mean in the New Testament. It's not a strict break, I think. It's not, in fact, the new covenant. There's an important sense in which the new covenant doesn't do away with the old covenant, but sort of refreshes it, or maybe a better way to think about it is it's new in terms of a human understanding of it. This is important, I think, because for several reasons, not the least of which verse 7 says that this is an everlasting covenant. So this old covenant with Abraham is an everlasting one, and I think that is a very important distinction. So that the kind of covenant that God makes with Abraham is one that lasts forever, and it's one that is for the generations to come, as we read in verses 15, 16 concerning Sarai and her name changed to Sarah. She is blessed twice in verse 16 by God. It's also said that she will give rise not just to a nation, but to nations, plural, and kings of peoples, plural, shall come from her. So there's a very important sense in which Sarah is lifted up as someone who is the mother of many generations, many nations, many peoples. And that in this account of God's covenant with Abraham, we have this very important and distinctive emphasis upon Sarah being blessed and being described as the mother of nations and kings. So those are just a few reflections that I think are very important for us in considering our own understanding of a relationship with God. That is, that there is something eternal about it, everlasting here, not simply without end in time, but more of a transcendence of time, perhaps. And then also this emphasis placed on the mother of nations. Let's close with this word of prayer. This is a prayer from James Martineau from the 19th century. O God, who art and was and art to come, before whose face the generations rise and pass away, age after age the living seek thee and find thy faithfulness. There is no end. Our mothers and fathers in their pilgrimage walked by thy guidance and rested on thy compassion. Still to their children be thou the cloud by day, the fire by night. In our manifold temptations thou alone knows and art ever nigh. In sorrow thy pity revives the fainting soul. In our prosperity and ease it is thy Spirit only that can wean us from our pride and keep us low. O thou sole source of peace and righteousness, take now the veil from every heart and join us in one communion with thy prophets and saints who have trusted in thee and were not ashamed. Not of our worthiness, but of thy tender mercy, hear our prayer. Amen. Thank you for joining me this morning from Pilgrim Congregational Church. I'm Patrick Horn, and I hope that you have a very good day. Goodbye.